Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
Los Angeles.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of your six-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, September 11th. The LA Galaxy getting ready to perhaps take their final road trip of the season while not being eliminated from the playoffs. That could all happen this week. The season could be over, even though most everybody has already counted it out. Maybe even some of the players have counted it out as well, just knowing the results that have to be. But that's what could happen. That's what we're seeing as the Galaxy head up to Seattle and get ready for that. There's also a little bit of news here and there, especially on the Riqui Puig front and the roster freeze deadline front. So a lot of little things to get to today, and to help us do all that, we're glad to have him back. He's recovered. He's feeling good. It is Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going, bud?
It's going all right. Not fully recovered, but recovered enough, which, you know what? In these days, recovered enough will get me there. So
just be on this side of God's green earth. That's all I'm asking for.
Yes,
so
that's
every
a win.
morning.
That is a win.
It is LA Galaxy getting ready to head up to Seattle. You got to see the game against Houston. You were somebody, by the way, goes, was Eric there? I'm like, no, he wasn't there. At least he didn't tell me he was going there. It was the Jonas brothers weren't playing there, so you weren't there, right?
Yeah, I don't. The furthest I travel is to only see Joe Jonas and Nick Jonas and Kevin. Shout out to Kevin Jonas. But yeah, and that's
Kevin
what got me.
Kevin's underrated, right? Kevin of the Jonas brothers, yeah.
Sneakily, doesn't get his due, but that's why I threw him in last. But he deserves his flowers. But yeah, that's how I ended up sick. I'm not driving to Houston to figure that out. It's funny. We had a really bad thunderstorm on Friday, and I thought, are we going to get rained out again? Is that weather going to travel down towards Houston? Are we going to have a second rain delay, a second wait? So I was just happy that they were able to play that game and get it over with, and I was happy to hear my takes on Monday's show that Houston did their best Galaxy impression. It was a weird game. Weird. If the season isn't weird enough, that game was, kind of a microcosm of the season in itself, where they were in it, but they were never really in it. And then they kind of almost won. It was a strange game and a strange scenario, but I was able to watch it. I know you weren't able to watch it. I know Damien had some issues.
You said,
I don't know what happened. Yeah, I had no issues with it. So I don't know if it was a out-of-state thing or I don't know. Who knows what's going on with Apple and their wires and things that happen there.
I have to imagine that there's regional servers, and maybe we just kept getting bumped off, the West Coast server or whatever. Or you had a direct LAN connection from your computer back to Houston because, it's Texas, right?
It's a short trip. Yeah, everything's connected. The grid here is excellent.
Yeah. Much like in California. Hey, you guys can't keep your power on, and our grid lights everything on fire. Other than that, everything's fine.
Hey, we're made for each other. We're more alike than people like to admit.
Yeah, 100%. I watched that game, and yes, I did. It was stuttering, so I don't know how fluid the whole game actually was. Whenever you take it on as whole, because for me it was a herky jerky sort of experience, but. If I tell you that the LA Galaxy's XG was like 2.7 and that Houston had a 1.7 XG, does it change the way you look at that game? Or I just feel like I should be happy with a point on the road, and especially for a Galaxy team that has not won on the road the entire year. But do you know why they haven't won on the road the entire year, Eric? Because they can't make plays like at the end of the game where they could have stolen 3 points and walked away with a win.
Yeah, no smash and grab happening here. I'm curious if you have a broken down by when those XG moments happened, because I'm assuming the play at the end with Ramirez was a higher XG than maybe other opportunities. Because watching that game, I don't know that I ever felt that the Galaxy were on the front foot. It felt like Houston was wasting opportunities more than the Galaxy were creating chances. I mean, the Galaxy did what they could with the lineup that they had in there, but I don't know that I was watching that game saying, man, they're going to steal something here from Houston. And until towards the end, when you realize, okay, those things that come back to bite you that we've seen the Galaxy do so many times in years past, seems like it was going to happen their way. But it seemed like a very late effort, late push when they made it. So I'm curious if that XG just kind of all happened in the last, 10 minutes plus injury time, that, those last 18 minutes is that's when that XG really kind of flipped on its head.
I mean, I would say you look at the goal is high XG that they actually score with Sanabria being where he's at. Yeah. That's probably a 0.2, 0.35, something like that from middle of the box. You have to have you have Ramirez when he whiffed on the one that came across the top of the box, and then it goes to Peck, and then he's offside. I have to imagine that's a 0.2, 0.3 chance that was missed there. So, you start adding those up. But I mean, yeah, there was little things there. I agree. I don't think there was anything made. Certainly not in the first half. And look at the lineup that was in the first half. For as much as everybody yells, play the kids, play the kids, play the kids, it wasn't the kids who turned that game around in the second half, right? So, which is important because, Gabriel Peck was really the impetus for what happened in the second half, and his speed and everything that was sort of going there. And of course, Gabriel Peck will not be available against Seattle for yellow card accumulation. So there you go. There's, add it to the list of other outs, but I have it here. It is Gabriel Peck, yellow card accumulation. He will miss at Seattle. And then of course there's some Miro Garces and Lucas Sanabria who are on yellow card warning at this point. All right. So just giving you a little sneak peek of the 60+% the LA Galaxy are underdogs to Seattle, just in case. Just in case you didn't want to wait to the end of that show.
Yeah. We needed another hurdle, playing away at Seattle, having not won a single away game all season long. We needed to make it just a little bit more difficult to make the game even that more challenging. I think without Garces, Garces, do we know if he's going to be there? Is he still injured? Is he not? So I know he's on warning. That wasn't he's out, but Peck is definitely going to be missed.
Peck is out.
We can him and haw about the effectiveness of Peck and Paintsel this season without Puig, but Peck has had moments where he is the only bright spot on the field for the Galaxy this season, aside from Marco Royce when he's on the field. So, when you take away Royce, take away Peck, and to me, I don't think you have a lot of hope, going into this away game at Seattle.
Yeah, questions about whether or not Paintsel will be available. Here's Greg Vanney said that he didn't want to tip his hat. I asked him about injuries today and just how you manage those, because one, the scenarios of which the LA Galaxy can be eliminated are threefold. But at the same time, I want to make sure that everybody understands that, going up and playing on turf. Listen, the Galaxy's focus is not on trying to not be eliminated from the play. That's coming, whether it's this week or next week or whatever. It's coming, right? The end is near. You can feel it. It's creeping in. The whole deal. They're not going to make it till October. By the way, that would be a great bet. Could the LA Galaxy make it till October to be eliminated from that? It's like, no.
To still be alive, so. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I don't imagine that happening. And I'm someone who declared the season over 10 games in, and I'm proud of that take in a way that, like, you just kind of knew the hole was too deep. But I'm also not proud of it that it's not official yet, and the fact that they've had all these little micro opportunities throughout this season to salvage where you can start to build momentum, and it just never, the bowling ball never went over those wires, like that Carnival game where it just never either got pushed too hard or it came back. It never got over the hump. I feel like that's the right analogy for this season. Couldn't get the right weight.
Boy, do I have a story for you. Let me take you back.
We didn't prep this way. This was organic. We organically landed here.
No. But let me take you back. I figure 1992, 1993. We are talking outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This would be, of course, during the summertime, because that's when we used to go visit my grandparents in a lovely little town called Trentham. If you want to know about Trentham, Pennsylvania, it's right next to New Kensington, which is the larger of the two towns, but separated by a river, the Allegheny River, if I'm correct. You have to go over bridges, which means that like New Kensington's here and Trentham's here, and it takes you 45 minutes to go from here to here that are only like half mile away because you have to go to the bridge, right? There's a river in the center. Anyway, just setting the stage.
Sounds very much like Southern California.
In many ways it does. Old steel mill town. My grandfather used to work at a steel mill. It's just, again, setting the stage. East Coast, lots of trees, lots of green, that type of thing. It is church carnival time. And the Guesmans have moseyed on down to the church carnival, of which my grandparents are pillars of the community there, taking up the gifts, all that stuff. They are absolutely, it is their jam. This is my mom's side of the family. Wonderful people. Miss them both. So the Guesmans roll up. We go into the church carnival. They have 2 games of which I, a 12 or 13-year-old, clean them out of prizes. All right, because 1, we're donating, but 2, we're there to win, Eric. All right.
I was gonna say, not the church carnival. Yeah, you're not supposed to clean them out.
Clean them out. All right. You just clean them out. They were getting our money. It's fine, right? You know, they got their $1 per play or whatever it was. They had 2 games. One of which was the bowling ball that you were talking about, the one where you have to roll it and it has to stay in the dip in between without like rolling over the whole thing. Once I figured out what that was, took me a couple times to figure it out. Once I figured it out, repeatable over and over and over again. Nailed
your muscle memory.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. The other one, and I don't remember if you remember this one, this is definitely like church carnival-ish, is the one where basically you had like a skee ball, right? So sort of like those heavy, like woodenish, they used to be like wood, but now they're plastic, right? But woodenish balls. And there was a track that had like little curves on it, and you had a steering wheel, and you had to try to drive the ball to the basket on the end, right? So you had to like, it was like a curve, so you had to tilt the thing to keep the whole thing from going. And there were a couple stops there you can lean over, clean them out. Absolutely 100% clean them
impressive.
out.
That sounds impressive.
I
thought you were going to...
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention the one with the wire where you had to go through the spinning one. That's a tough one.
That's a tough... No, see, this wasn't that advanced of a church carnival, but just would like to, again, in my glory days, I had some good plays there. I had some good plays. So anyway, back to the whole thing.
Well, you know who hasn't won prizes this season?
The LA Galaxy?
The LA Galaxy.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. There you go. That's our transition.
Nice. It was good to be back. We were on a little trip there, and now we're back. Greg Vanney today, when asked about injuries and everything that was sort of going on, he said he didn't want to tip his hand. It's like one of the only times this year where Greg Vanney's been like, don't make me tell you who's injured, because one is, my guess is the list is longer than you think it is, right? It's one of those. The other thing is, he says there are a bunch of guys who are borderline, who did some work this week, who did some stuff, and they're not going to know probably until tomorrow whether or not they're going to be able to play. I would probably list guys like Nascimento on there and Garces on there, where they're close, but he also said that there is no reason whatsoever to put anybody out there. If they need another week, he's like, they get another week. Like, okay,
what's the incentive? Yeah, we're not in a playoff push here.
No, but that's sort of where we look just in terms of what they're going to have to do. So schedule is that they train tomorrow, which is Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon they'll head up to Seattle, and then of course the game is at 5:30. So that's sort of that. There is this background of stuff that is going on, and I don't know. We haven't really got to do it that much, so I'm just gonna do it right now. We do have some breaking news.
Wow.
I know. Well, I mean, it's if you watch Twitter earlier, I'm not sure that like you're gonna be shocked or like you're gonna be like, yeah, I know, I read your Twitter, the whole deal.
Forget, not everyone is on Twitter 24/7.
Exactly,
chronically
100%.
online. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe they didn't. So what we'd like to do. The breaking news is that tomorrow is the roster freeze deadline. So Friday, I believe it's at 5 p.m. Eastern time, which puts it at 2 p.m. Pacific Coast time. Now, we have been theorizing, at least I have been theorizing, Eric, that the LA Galaxy would need to find an international slot for Riqui Puig by this time in order to make it official. So I did ask Greg Vanney today about that scenario, and Greg Vanney said, and I quote, starting to understand a little more of that situation. I think as we get into tomorrow, I think that decision that has to be made around here is exactly that. Is he going to be ready to come back in the next 5 weeks? And if so, we have to make a move to clear up that spot. He's talking about the international slot, right? And if not, then we don't necessarily need to make that move, but we want to make a plan to make the progress that he needs to, and that may include stuff postseason. So this is basically all that said is that tomorrow you will find out whether Riqui Puig will play the rest of the season at any point. It doesn't mean that he's going to play in Seattle. That has nothing to do with it, right? But if the LA Galaxy go out and make a move of sorts, either to get an international slot or to free up loan someone down, however it ends up happening,
where you need him,
that type of thing, then we will know whether or not Riqui. If they do not do anything, then Riqui Puig is not going to play for this season. There's lots of questions because whenever I put it out, there were people who were Eric, I'm gonna say this, and tell me you weren't thinking the same thing. Why didn't you just put him on the season-ending injury list?
Yeah, that's where my brain went. Is you went through all this trouble to hope you have him ready towards the end of the season, and it's like, well, at this point, why didn't you just put him on the season-ending injury list, and then you could have gotten another player in here. But I know that it's not that simple because you're not going to swap a like for like DP, and so it just creates another set of headaches, I think.
It's when it comes to designated players and the season-ending injury list, it's more complicated, of course, because it's Major League Soccer. You technically don't get to take Riqui Puig's, however much. Let's see, hold on, I can tell you again. I always forget what the number is off top, but he's top paid, $5.7 million. You don't get to take Riqui Puig's $5.7 million and then go and pay $5.7 million for somebody to play for the season. That's not how that works.
For a one season substitute. Yeah.
And the big deal here is that you can't even do that. The SEI list says basically you have to get somebody, I think, at a less salary than who you're replacing, right? And so you go, well, cool, there's lots of room under that $5.7 million to go out and get to four. No, I believe, because we've talked about this once before and it was a while ago, but I believe the correct answer is that you're actually looking at the budget charge money. So, a player who is a designated player takes max budget charge, right? And so you're looking at like $730,000 or $750,000 that really you're going out, and now you're going to have to find somebody to play for that, and then not only that, you have to find somebody who will only play for one season for that, right? The whole deal. So how are you? Yeah.
I was going to say, or if they're not playing for one season, you're now bringing someone in at that $700K level who you now are carrying a contract of that going into next season, which now impacts your salary cap of who you can sign and who you can't sign for 2026. And so that's where the theory all starts to fall apart of replacing someone on the season and replacing a DP on the season-ending injury list. I think Robbie Rogers was the last one on the list, and why we're probably also so familiar with the rules because, again, it wasn't necessarily a like for like, but you had to get someone who fit under
Pele Van Aanholt, right?
Pele Van Aanholt, who went on to have his own injury issues. Mm-hmm. They needed a season-ending injury replacement for the season-ending injury replacement. Yeah.
So the other part is people are like, well, they could have saved some money that way. No, you saved no money. By the way, when we talk about salary cap stuff, that's
you spend more.
You spend more money. Yes, you will have to spend the $5.7 million you're paying to Riqui Puig plus the $735,000, almost $1 million, whenever you round that up, again to somebody else. So it's not necessarily a club being like, hey, that's a lot of money, that type of thing for somebody who's going to be short term. Yes, there are journeymen that sort of fit into that, but I also think that if you and this is the beginning of the season. Let's go take the time machine, 88 miles per hour, flux capacitor, back we go, to preseason when we were like, well, the Galaxy are still going to be a playoff team even without Riqui Puig, right? And, Mark Delgado's gone, but, they're still going to be a playoff team, right? I mean, the whole
Christian Ramirez can make up at least half of what Dejan Jovic had, right?
Right, exactly. So, again, we have to go back.
Who would have that crazy of a take?
No, I mean... See, it's only crazy because we live here now, right? Like we're in the present. We understand all that happened and everything that transpired. But that wasn't an unreasonable take. And so the argument would be right now is, would you want Riqui Puig to come in and play in the playoffs whenever you are clearly going to make... I mean, I really thought August, September was going to be the window for Riqui Puig, and we are there right now. And you're sort of like, he's close, right? Is he close enough in the next 5 weeks? And even if he wasn't going to be close enough in these 5 weeks, don't you think he's going to be ready by the end of October to be able to play? And if you're going to the playoffs, don't you think you're going to do that? So if they put Riqui Puig, let's go into the alternate reality, which is they put Riqui Puig on the season-ending injury list and the LA Galaxy go to the playoffs, and everybody's like, man, they shouldn't have put him on the season-ending injury list.
Yeah. We could have used them for this playoff push here towards the end. I think
by the way, we'd be complaining about going to the playoffs, right? The Galaxy are going there. Yeah.
Yeah. If they were there, again, it goes back to like 2024 last season. You don't know what you have until you're in it. If they somehow made a run this season, then without him, then that says something on itself. But I'll say that one of the flaws of Riqui here is he maybe teased us a little bit too much, and it's not his fault, and that he wanted to be at the games and to show his presence and to be there. But I think his face being shown on the cameras during the games, walking around, again, that's an injury where you can still walk around, but doesn't mean you're ready anywhere close to being gameplay ready or game fit, match fit. And so I think that gave people this kind of false hope. And then with his social media posts last month, it started to seem like, okay, hey, he's going to be close for Leagues Cup. He was on the Leagues Cup roster. So maybe, one of those times. And I think either he wasn't as close as he thought he was,
right,
or the Galaxy made a business decision this far along where they said, you know what, we're just going to wrap it up. You and I have been vocal about you need to get him the minutes now, but I think I can be talked into the business decision of you were going to play him in these last 5 games for what? To go away at Seattle and to get injured by a different Roldan brother? Like I don't know what the outcome, what the positive is. So, I think Vanney maybe tipped his cap a little bit, saying there's postseason work, there's different things that I think that kind of says what you need to know. Reading the tea leaves, we'll know tomorrow for certain, and for the people who listen to this on Saturday, you'll definitely know what the end result is. But I think we're leaning towards not seeing Riqui play MLS game this season.
Yeah, I would like to just let you know that sometimes just being, I think everybody likes the idea of sort of being behind the scenes and knowing what's going on and that type of thing. There's a lot of confusion sometimes whenever you're trying to get behind the scenes and new stuff. So I've been told that Ricky's ready to go and that, the Galaxy are sort of weighing whether or not they want to put him out there and what positive that does. I mean, ultimately you're going to might have to spend money in order to get an international slot or move somebody or do something. So like there could be a cost to the team associated with even getting them one game before like it's all, all said and done. So
to that point, you're going to pay whatever international slot would cost in September, which, let's be very, very generous and say it's $50K, $75K.
Right.
So you're going to spend $75K to finish 29th instead of 30th, to make a run at avoiding the wooden spoon. That's to me, I think if you're looking at this as a pure brass tacks and the season is lost, you say what for what reason? Why would you go through that and risk injury and do those different things? I think you can lay out a very good argument to where it makes sense to just wrap it up for him.
Yeah. It's just like I just sit there and I go and I look at sort of where they're at now. The whole thing is that somebody said, well, why would you risk Riqui this year? And it's like, well, do you want to let's play like the worst case scenario. I don't want to do this to people. Let's play worst case scenario. Riqui comes out and whether his game is right now or the game is at the beginning of next year, he comes out and he gets injured again, right? Maybe it's something that's minor, but still like you're
a nagging injury. Yeah.
Maybe you want to know that before you head into the next season. And maybe like that would be a good thing to know. It's like already, okay, we're already dealing with injuries and, maybe we have to work through this and before we can get back to where everything is. I still think that Riqui, if he starts now, he still has, 3 or 4 months of really sort of light work, but, good intentions. The Galaxy having to sort of play back and forth and understand that they need to see him out there. He needs to play. Like I'm in 6 months, you would hope he's close to 100%, right? That's sort of where we're at right now. If we started right now in 6 months, I would hope. If you start in January, it's 6 months and you hope you start it's still 6 months. Yeah. You are not, there is no such thing as game fitness until you have game play, right? And scrimmages and all that stuff are great, but that's not the same as the game. It's not those things. And that's the big thing. And that's why, again, I always need to preface this. Nobody is rushing Riqui Puig. This is a medical decision right now that they're making, right? Which is if the doctors say he's ready, then he will be ready. If the doctors say he's going to be ready in the next 5 weeks, the Galaxy probably go out and, say, hey, even if we get him a couple games at the end of the season, he can be with the team training fully, and you reward him for all the hard work that he's coming back. You don't do that, and now you're sort of saying, hey, Riqui, I know you're working really hard to get back, but we're going to push that off, and you really don't have to be back for the next 4 or 5 months, right? And it's sort of like, well, that's something too, mentally. So all those things play into it. I do like the idea. I do sort of like your take, just that, maybe Riqui being on the sideline, maybe Riqui posting all the Instagrams that he does, and all. He's a thirst trap right now for Galaxy fans, right? Yeah, and I know
he's
a good
hope.
thirst trap.
He's the little glimmer of hope that we have to cling on to, given just the absolute dire situation that the Galaxy have been in all this season.
I mean, all Galaxy fans, as soon as Riqui puts up anything, they're like, I love it, and then they go back and look.
He's back.
Yeah, they
We're
go
all
back
the way
to
back.
3. They go back 6 months and they like that post, and then they go back 12 months. They're like, does he notice me yet? That type of thing. So, not
done that before.
Not that I've ever done that. No, no. So I mean, that's sort of where we sit with Riqui Puig. I think at this point, there's a really good chance, just by trying to read the tea leaves that I see. I don't know that the Galaxy will do anything tomorrow. Yeah. And I think that's probably a business decision a little bit, and also just the medical decision that maybe he's just not going to be there, right? Maybe the last game in the 5th week, the last game of the entire season, maybe you can give him 20 minutes, that type of thing. It's like, it's probably not worth it then, if we go that way.
And the argument could also be made from a medical perspective is that we've been saying you get the game fitness and to test it out, so we can make sure he's good for next season. There's also the argument that he's been resting for, what is this, over, we're close to 10 months now, 9 months, 10 months, that another 4 months is only going to make that knee stronger come next season. So you test it now, you start playing, then you start to weaken it again, and it becomes more susceptible. So there, you could also argue that this is going to be what's in the best interest to have him healthy. And I think there's a point where you have to say, Riqui is not someone who started playing soccer 2 years ago.
Right.
This is someone who's played all his life, and that this time off is not going to, he's not going to need to learn to walk again. He wasn't in a horrific, accident where, we're relearning, different things. This is someone who had an injury. He knows how to run. He knows how to play the sport. His brain is still the same. And so maybe the learning curve isn't as big as maybe we're making it out to be. And that's okay too.
Yeah, interested to see how it goes down. But basically, we should know tomorrow. Now, does that mean we'll know right at 2 p.m.? No, but we should know sometime tomorrow, and it should filter down. I doubt they're going to reach out to me and be like, hey, this is happening, that type of thing. So if it happens, we should know.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you see Tom Bogart's, post, we're saying the LA Galaxy have acquired an international slot from,
the New
DC
England
United.
Revolution. Yeah, there we go. Those were both accurate takes.
Or they have loaned down, well, it wouldn't be Nascimento. Maybe he is. If Nascimento's hurt enough, then you say, hey, there's a way around it. Who are our internationals that we could loan down? I don't know that there's a lot of names on there.
There are not a lot of names
there's not
really. The actual internationals that are taking up slots right now is Julian Aude, Amiro Garces, Zonka, Novak Mitrovic, Nascimento, Joseph Painsil, Gabriel Peck, Marco Reus, Lucas Sanabria, Miki Amane, and Maya Yoshida. All right.
Not one. There's not one of those you'd loan down.
Yeah, so
you'd have to go get a spot.
Yeah, and I don't think people were like, just loan Zonka down. I don't think that's not. He's a senior roster player. You'd have to have a reason for doing some of that. So, Crazy Brain, by the way, $5 super chat says, speaking of schedules, how's the World Cup affecting MLS next year? 1 month off. I'm hearing 6 weeks. By the way, 6 to 7 weeks. 1 month off. Other than U.S., who are you guys saving up your money to go see? Spain? Eric? I mean Portugal. Obviously,
I put in for the Visa lottery yesterday, and I marked fan of Portugal.
Okay.
As much as I am a U.S. citizen, love supporting the U.S. men's national team, the opportunity to see the Portuguese national team in a World Cup, that's going to take priority number 1 for me.
Right. Let's see. Outside the U.S. men's national team, I'm probably a Germany fan. That's Germany. I have German ancestry along with Italian ancestry, so I'm sort of right there along the axis of evil. So I will, I'm sure, watch some of the Germany games, that type of thing. I also have one of my good friends here is German, and he's like, I'm going, right? So he's like, we're going.
Yeah, one way.
Yeah, well, I'm like, okay.
It's funny. When I was it's funny. For those of you not familiar with the World Cup lottery draw, you had to put in for a pre-sale for a lottery to get a time slot to maybe get the opportunity to watch a match. I was having the conversation with my wife. I was like, so what's my ceiling? They're saying tickets can be $60, but they also can be $6,000. So, what's my ceiling here? And she says, you know what? I kind of trust you to do what you want. But also, who knows so then when I came home, I said, hey, we got in the lottery. She's like, so how much were the tickets? I was like, no. This was
there's no
a
tickets.
lottery to possibly get a spot to have a time slot to get tickets. So yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, it is. I know people were talking. Actually, there was, I think Spectrum was doing a story on it, and I got contacted to see if I could put people in touch with people who went through the lottery and did that type of thing. So I know some Galaxy fans, at least one, made it on there for talking about World Cup tickets. I know people were having so much trouble in the morning, and then people who were signing up in the afternoon were like, "Took me 5 minutes, no problems." So
Well, let's say the window's open now. You can do it now. They said that it's not in order of how you register. So I think the window goes for another week. So you know, if you're listening now, actually, you know what? No, they closed it. Let's keep that lottery pool real small. I know nothing. I don't know. I'm going to gatekeep this.
There is no, like, if you get in earlier, nothing happens. You're
Yes,
still in the lot in a drawing
Yeah.
that's supposed to be random anyway. So yeah, that type of thing. No, you want to talk about MLS schedules next year? They will be screwed up massively. Like I said, 6 or 7 weeks off is what they're looking at right now. And that's what I've been told. So that's a lot.
And rightfully so. It is a lot, but at the same time, you're hosting a World Cup. So when you have those games on your home soil, and then you're going to go watch, Columbus versus San Jose, I just don't know that the appetite is going to be there during that 6 weeks to do that. You could argue, I guess you could argue that the fever pitch for wanting to watch soccer, the appetite is going to be so big because everyone's going to be worked up into a fervor that the World Cup is in the United States. But I also could see, we've seen it with the tournaments this past season with the Club World Cup. I think there's a real fatigue as well where you maybe want to limit it. So I understand it's going to be a pain having 6 weeks off, but at the same time, I think you have to. I don't know how you get around having something on your home soil and then trying to play your domestic league games in between. It just seems like too tall of an order.
It will, and then we'll all do the thing where we've been watching. The problem is there's an expanded field for the World Cup this year, and so
we still don't know the format.
No, we don't know the format, but
Yeah.
expanded field for it, which means that we don't know how bad some of the play is going to be because when you
Very
expand, you dilute it a little bit, right? That type of thing. And so usually what we do is we watch World Cup and then we go back and watch MLS. We're like, whoa, geez, okay, calm down. The whole deal. Well, this is crazy. Like MLS needs to step it up, that type of thing. I have a feeling you're going to see less of that in the group stage this year because I think there's going to be blowouts and all sorts of things that we probably haven't seen in previous World Cups. So, Gary goes, I'm not gonna go to work for 6 weeks. No, well, I'll go to work, Gary. We'll just watch it on our phones and our tablets, and it'll constantly be on every screen that I have. And I have to pick which game would I like to watch. Let's do it.
Work is fake. Nothing's real. Have the games on in the background.
That's exactly what you do.
That's my life advice.
Yeah.
Take that. Don't get fired. That and don't get fired.
Don't get fired. 100%. Always a good take there for the hammer.
Not legal advice. Yeah. Not a legal.
Not a lawyer.
Not a legal representative.
Yeah. Did say to Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah.
Eventually our kids are not going to know what that means. They're going to be like, what do you mean Holiday Inn Express? Like, it was a commercial. What's a commercial? Shut up. That's my kid right now. Like, well, I'm in the car and the radio's
like an
on.
ad?
Yeah. There's the car and the radio comes on. He goes, I want to listen to the next song. I'm like, you can't. It's the radio. He's like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? Just go to the next one. And I was like, no. Let's see. Let's go to the elimination scenarios for the LA Galaxy. The LA Galaxy will be eliminated from the Audi 2025 MLS Cup playoffs contention and there are 3 separate scenarios. Are you ready? Here we go. LA lose at Seattle, which seems very likely, and San Jose win draw versus LAFC. Or, that's first scenario. Or second scenario, LA lose at Seattle. Again, seems pretty likely. And Houston win at Colorado. Or, third scenario, LA draw at Seattle. Man, even if the Galaxy tie, they could be out.
It's not good enough. An away draw, not good enough.
No, LA draw at Seattle and San Jose win versus LAFC. All right, so the win draw / versus LAFC. It's like even if the Galaxy draw, they still that San Jose LAFC game could have some ripple effects. And by the way, San Jose or LAFC would love to just have the LA Galaxy be gone.
Of all the teams, those are the 2 teams.
They lumped them together. So, I mean, talking to Greg Vanney today, I asked him how you look at Seattle and how you maybe take a different approach, or how do you handle them knowing you played them recently, knowing that you have a turf game, knowing that you're going up there away, knowing that you could be eliminated from the playoffs right now. And he was sort of like, listen, nobody's like really worried about getting getting eliminated from the playoffs. I.e., we already know the results that would have to happen for that are ridiculous. So let's not pretend like we're all sitting here with bated breath, being like, man, Saturday's got to be a must-win game. People were asking me if it was a must-win game. Well, sure, okay, yeah, absolutely. Sounds like if you don't win, you could go home. So it sounds like a must-win. I'm like, not that matters at any point.
Yeah, I'd be so curious. We've done this math when the Galaxy are in ninth place or 10th place, like all the different permutations, and I've gone through lined paper and done all these different things to figure out how it's going to work. The scenario in which the Galaxy make the playoffs, the fact that right now technically they're not eliminated, I would love to see all the permutations that would have to happen for them to actually make the playoffs. I think it would probably involve going not even a draw, winning all the way out, and then the number of teams that would have to lose and to each other, and in those scenarios, it'd be fascinating to see that timeline play out.
Apparently, there is one, right? There is still
that's the thing. It exists.
It exists.
There's a timeline where that happens.
Man, that would be fun to be like, hey, show me the results on that.
Just show it to me.
It's like
we don't need to live in it. I just want to see how it goes. Yeah.
There's 25 things that have to happen. There's one scenario, but 25 different things have to happen in order to get there, right? So that's certainly something there. I mean, the other part is that I believe somebody magic numbered the wooden spoon, and basically it's any combination of 16 points between St. Louis and the LA Galaxy, right? Because those are the two bottom teams. And so, that's also something. So again, I mean, listen, I would not suggest that this Saturday is the game in which you were trying to claw your way out of the wooden spoon, but this is
not the one where you're going to hold your breath for.
No, this is not that one. So I would suggest that there are others where you will have a better chance of possibly climbing out of the wooden spoon. But the schedule isn't that kind to the LA Galaxy down the stretch here. I mean, Seattle coming up on Saturday on the 20th, the Galaxy will host Cincinnati. Oh, that's Cincinnati? Yeah, that's Cincinnati. Then the LA Galaxy welcome Dejan Joveljic, who has now 17 goals, I believe, on the year. So
is that good?
I think so. Last time I checked, it was probably okay. So they have Sporting Kansas City. Then they have Campeones Cup on 10-1. So that's against Toluca.
Silverware. We got a chance, folks.
That is the one chance to hoist a trophy and do all that stuff. So I mean, you're talking about what are you doing the next 3 games? You're kind of getting ready for Campeones Cup, right? Everybody needs to be healthy. You're not playing anybody who doesn't need to. Like they'll get the warm up game against Kansas City, and then they go out and play against Toluca on 10-1. Then 3 days later, they're headed to Dallas, which is always a good time. Are you going to that game?
I'm going to be there for the Campeones Cup victory parade. Okay. To march the Galaxy into Frisco, Texas, to play FC Dallas. Yeah. So I'll be there to celebrate the Galaxy.
How college football of them, a home and home with Dallas. So a home at Dallas and then home at Dignity Hill Sports Park in back-to-back days there. So 10-4 and 10-11. And then the LA Galaxy close everything out with Fan Appreciation Day against Minnesota United. Maybe there'll be a chance they could fight for the wooden spoon that day. And maybe it's a Fan Appreciation Day. Listen, Fan Appreciation Days have gone way sideways, and we know that. But when they're already eliminated, they've actually, like in 2017, I'm pretty sure they won the last game of the season, right? It was one of those. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I think Houston may have been like the harbinger that something weird is going to happen, because we're throwing this Seattle game in the trash, just knowing that Seattle's had our number all season long. They've beat up on us. It's away. It's at turf. They haven't won an away game all season. It also would be kind of poetic if that's the game that they win and somehow get their first away win of the season. They're the only team in MLS that does not have an away win. So for it to be away at Seattle would be interesting. And then for the Fan Appreciation Days, where it always goes sideways, if that's the only opportunity or the final opportunity for them to leapfrog St. Louis, and they do it on that day, right, where they sat in 30th place the whole time, but then they jumped to 29th on the it would be very bizarro LA Galaxy to make that work.
It is that type of season, so I don't know what to expect. There were FIFA ratings coming out, so EA Sports FC put out their ratings for players. Riqui Puig and Marco Reus ranked 6th and 8th respectively among all MLS players in the EA FC 26 rankings. You had Marco Reus at 79 and Riqui Puig at 80. Somebody said that the disrespect of having Riqui Puig with a 79 passing, like, and sort of, I'm like, oh man, I go, I mean, it is definitely, I think, one of his strongest attributes. His dribbling is at 82, right? But passing is really, yes, he misses some, but some of the plays he makes are really outstanding. Again, it's MLS. I refuse to believe that any of this is some sort of giant conspiracy theory, but
it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's also just really difficult to have a decent score on these EA rankings. You look, someone who dabbles and plays these games. You go and
you still have time for that?
No,
okay.
But I make a point to it every once in a while on a weekend, or once the kids are asleep, I'll fire the PS5 up. But it's you try to build your team, an ultimate team, and you say, oh, this is a good player, and then you see their rating, and it's like, oh, I guess they're not a good player because they're not really good. And then there's multipliers and team of the weeks and different things where you see these players who maybe are not that great have these incredible rankings because of these little multipliers that are added on. So again, it's not real, nothing to feel disrespected or worried about. Right. Although I do hear that EA 26 is going to be a better game. They promise us all the time, but I guess there is a different engine allegedly. So, I have high hopes.
Okay.
Maybe pro clubs will get back up and going.
Executive producer Herb, $20 super chat. Always good to have Herb at the show. He says, hey Josh, hey Hammer. Not sure what you discussed so far, but how short will leash be on Vanney in 2026? New players incoming, adjusting, learning, Vanney ball and Puig coming back from injury may be a rough start. Yeah, it certainly, I don't know that it could be any rougher than this year. Let's put it this way. I bet you they do better than this year.
That's a safe bet.
Through the first 16 games, I bet they have at least one win through the first 16 games.
That's not going out on a limb.
No.
To answer the question, though, I will say, in my opinion, the leash is going to be very, very short. I think if you don't come out successful, given that you finish 29th or 30th, best case scenario, 28th or 29th, and then the next season you come out and have another slow start in the first 10 games, I think Vanney very easily could be on the chopping block. So I think a hot start is pivotal for Vanney to keep his job.
I'll say, because I tend to be more, conservative whenever it comes to these things.
Leaning it, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
The 100 thing, I would say that it's probably going to be like way longer than people think it is, right? It's one of those. Now, I once said that about Cardinalfo, and that didn't go very far, right? The whole deal. But I do think that there's
0 away wins this season.
Yeah.
Worst statistical season.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer you can get after that. And so it is what it is. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is, they signed him to a 3-year extension, right? The whole year. So that doesn't even start. So there's something there. I also, and while this is more rumor than fact, I believe there's ways for the Galaxy to get out of that contract after next year, right? If they wanted to, maybe there's options in there, maybe there's buyouts or different things that are sort of a little bit more important for that. So I think that there's going to be a want to support Greg Vanney with all the stuff that they're trying to do. I think the Galaxy will have a long off season, and that might be useful to them, although it always seems to take longer to get things done than we hope. I would say, again, I think, you're looking at the first half of the season is important, right? And that's going to be important. I also think that we need to watch how the Galaxy build the roster, and we need to understand that if there's a plan to have something open for the summer, that there may be some significant changes. And if you do that, you may hold Vanney until the summer, even if things aren't going great, because that something that is coming in. The Lewandowski rumors, I don't see any reason why those couldn't be true, right? And so I don't think you're going to be able to get him this winter. So I think that's a summer move, right? Because he's going to play through the rest of the year with Barca more than likely. So he does that.
And he's going to play in the World Cup.
And he's going to play in the World Cup most likely. So you're not going to touch that. And if if you have a reasonable suspicion that you can get him after that on a TAM deal, because I was talking with Damien about this. It can't be a designated player deal. One, because as of right now, at least, you don't have any designated players. And the idea is that all three of those guys are coming back because they want to keep the attacking group together. But if there is a TAM deal available, much like how Marco Reus landed here, I don't know, maybe he talks to one of his countrymen and says, hey, come on, TAM.
I know a thing or two about a TAM deal. I have a nice little beach house in Manhattan Beach. Maybe he wants to hang out with one of his old buddies. I think I'm with you. I think this is a very attainable. If they want to make it work, it's going to land at the feet of Lewandowski if he's willing to make it work. Royce was willing. He probably could have gotten more money elsewhere or landed somewhere different. We all saw the MLS documentary where other teams, wanted to scoop him up. But it's going to come down to if Lewandowski wants to come here or not.
And that's it. It's because it's not going to be about the money, right?
Yeah.
He's going to want to come here, and that's how it's going to end up. So again, those are the things that I think we can sort of caveat into next season, which is, do you want to throw Greg Vanney out before you get sort of that, if that's what a plan is, if there's an actual plan for that. So that's just, again, just keep that in mind when you're angry and ready to throw things around, just keep those things in mind as we go into this. So, yeah.
And if you want me to put the tinfoil all the way around my head, you could say, well, if Lewandowski agrees to come, then maybe he knows a coach that he wants to bring along with him, and you say, okay, maybe that's part of, and Royce and Lewandowski are pulling some secret strings in the back, so who knows all the different things. I'm not saying that that's true in any way. That's just, like I said, tinfoil all the way around my head, but who knows? That can be the other side of that coin, where you're saying, do you want to get rid of him before he comes? But it also might be getting rid of him may be part of, that attraction of bringing a player of that caliber in.
Yeah, and again, just let's see how the cards start sort of settling themselves.
Let's see the first 5 games, first 10 games.
Well, I mean, before that, we have there's so many different things on the
Let's
roster,
see who we
right?
get, yeah.
Like Diego Fagundes with a contract up, Cristiano Ramirez with a contract up, John Nelson with a contract up, Miguel Berry, Eric Zavaleta, Mauricio Cuevas, Isaiah Parente, Tucker Lepley, those ones. And then that's not even talking about the guys who have deals expiring the next year. Marco Royce, Yamane. Let's see, who else? 26 is Zonka, right? I'm telling you, Zonka. If you're looking at somebody who I don't know will be back because there's going to be a move, Zonka could be it. I don't know how the Galaxy worked their way out of that besides a buyout, but I'm trying to think of how creative you could get without going the buyout route.
It reminds me of the Princess Bride. You keep saying that word. I'm not sure if you know what you keep saying Zonka they can find their way out of it. I don't know if that's a possibility. There's also Nascimento on loan. So again, that's also something that they have to evaluate it's not a contract decision, but he's someone who might not be back either.
No. And so just again, more things. And do you bring in somebody like Nascimento whenever perhaps you could be getting a more experienced striker? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? The whole deal. So yeah, that's sort of where we sit with that. No, I think it's a great question, Herb. And listen, that's only going to ratchet up more and more as we get into the offseason. It's going to be a long offseason, but it's going to be, I think, a busy one. So there's a lot of sort of stuff going on there. Now,
but
yes,
I think it's a great opportunity for the Galaxy front office to breathe and for fans to also take a nice little break. I do think that there was a jump from going from December to February where you have this championship hangover and thinking this is the same championship team starting 2 months later. Mm-hmm. And it was completely different roster, missing your MVP of the season, and this false sense of, hey, this is the same team from 2 months ago, when it was the farthest thing from the same team from 2 months ago. So I think having this long of a break helps you set in your mind this is going to be a brand new team next season, and you're going to go in with that mindset as opposed to we're coming into the season as champions. That's my,
your professional
sunny
pick?
side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The rose shaded glasses where you say, okay, the good thing about this is, you had a terrible season. So you're not going to think, well, if we just continue the momentum from last season, we'll be great. What momentum? So you have to go in knowing that you have to do things differently than you did this season.
The other part of that is that CONCACAF Champions Cup, because you're going to be in that, and that happens right at the beginning. I think there's going to be some focus on that. There's going to be one for the Galaxy to sort of make up for that. Listen, there's nothing that says teams can't gel early, even whenever you're rebuilding some of the team. I know Herb certainly has a correct point. Usually whenever you're integrating people into things, it's not always great. but we can look at what the Galaxy were able to integrate whenever they won the Cup in 2024, and Paintsel and Peck, and like you're sort of like, yeah, okay,
that's
worked.
The case study right there.
Yeah.
There were a lot of new players on that roster, and they made it work.
And they had a good core of guys who had been there too, right? So I think there's sort of that balance a little bit. Really been impressed with Edwin Cerrillo, by the way. The guy, he's like, I think he tried to call himself old today. He's 24, by the way. He did not. That didn't go over well, by the way. Damien was like, "What? You're old?" The whole day we're talking about. I was like, whenever I started covering the Galaxy, like most of the guys were older than me. Now, like I can't even get a goalkeeper to be as old as me, right? Yeah. Like there's no hope there. So, but really like what I'm seeing out of Edwin Cerrillo. Greg Vanney did mention Michael Bradley, by the way, and Edwin Cerrillo, and sort of said, I used to do this with Michael Bradley, which was, yeah, you can cover for people, but what I really want you to do is organize people so that way you don't have to cover for people. So that way they cover their own spots. He goes, you have to sort of be that guy. And so basically you're looking at Cerrillo as sort of the quarterback back there and understanding where everybody's supposed to be and working them back into shape or pulling the Galaxy into a shape, being a guy who solves problems as a group instead of a guy who tries to solve problems individually. I thought it was a really interesting little take from Greg.
And I'll back up Cerrillo here and say that he plays older. He plays older. I think he's been around and he's seasoned for his age, and I think that's probably where he was coming from. And I really like the Michael Bradley comp. I think maybe he's not there, but I think that's the right mold of how he plays and how he can develop as he goes into his prime. I think that's a great kind of comparison as to the type of player he could be.
I'm going to give you a little bit of news, and then I'm going to tell you that this is all conditional, but I do believe it's heading this way, that Corner of the Galaxy should be there for your season ticket member event that is happening on the 21st. We're still working out final details, but if you are headed to that, you should be able to see me there. But as soon as we get those details, I will, of course, share that with you. So if this somehow convinces you that you want to go to the carnival and you're like, I don't know, I'm on the fence. If I'm going to be there and that doesn't, maybe that gets you over the line. Maybe you turn around and go, no, I don't want to be there. Maybe I'm headed out. So anyway, that's sort of coming up on the 21st, which is a Sunday after the LA Galaxy play FC Cincinnati on Saturday night, right? So that's the Saturday night game. So just wanted to give you a heads up. Again, still working out final details, and then I'll give you all the details as soon as I have them locked down and 100%. But I wanted to give you a heads up that looks like that's happening.
Yes. Well, I'll say congrats to you for finally becoming a carnival act. I know that was a big bucket list item for you. So congrats on that.
I'm joining the circus. That's basically what it is. So that's everything.
Right there, bearded lady, you're up there.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go to the Seattle versus LA Galaxy game. We've been talking about it a little bit here and there.
We can end the show. It's fine.
There's nothing. Here, this is why Eric doesn't want to talk about it. Okay, 61.2% chance Seattle's going to win. I don't want to ruin things, but that's why he was saying that. The game at 5:30. Kickoff should be about 5:40 p.m. That's on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass, Apple TV Plus. The LA Galaxy training on Friday morning. We'll travel up to Seattle on Friday afternoon. We already told you Gabriel Peck is suspended for this game. Amiro Garces, Lucas Sanabria on yellow card warning. I don't know if you've gone back and looked at Seattle's record in the league and stuff like that, but I'll put it up on the screen a little bit, just like win, draw, win, draw, win, draw, win, win, win.
A lot of green.
Win,
a lot of green.
There's one loss there. It was a regular season game against Minnesota at Minnesota. It was a 1-0 win by Minnesota United.
And it was sandwiched in between the Leagues Cup group stage and
Yeah, it means nothing, so pay no attention, right? And then, of course, the Galaxy being, Seattle's date to the prom, basically 4-0, 2-0. This has not been a good one, and everybody is very well aware that Seattle is a very good team. Greg Vanney talking today says, he's really trying to make Seattle less comfortable in this. He wants to see the guys have to do their job. Got to cut out the big mistakes. He goes, when we make big mistakes, Seattle punishes you every time. He goes, you have to play an almost perfect game. Understood that. He was saying turning possession into attacks because when they're too comfortable, they solve problems really easily. And if you don't take your possession and force them to make decisions and force them out of their sort of positions, I would just like to, if you want to know what type of game it takes to beat Seattle, right? It's the Western Conference Final game where it was 0-0 and the LA Galaxy ended up winning that 1-0 on day on
one chance.
That you get one chance, and that was it, right? So that's one of those things that that I think is big. Again, on the injury front, Greg Vanney's, if they're safe to come back and they're return to play, we'll play them, and if not, doesn't matter. I think interesting to see Joseph Paintsel and whether or not he'll be available to play because he was on international duty, and whether he comes back and wants to play.
Travel involved, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Marco Royce is probably one of those guys where you're like, again, I don't know why you would, but it's Marco Royce, and if he wants to play and he's feeling good, you let him play. You're like, all right, go ahead and play.
That's what it comes down to. Is if he wants to do it. And I'll say this about Seattle this season, like you said, the Galaxy have been their date to the prom where they've, kind of really enjoyed all their dates that they've gone on. But talking about the Galaxy and preparing for next season and reloading, something that you have to give Seattle credit to is just how they reload. I mean, you look at someone like Adair Rosario, who maybe wasn't on the radar, and now he's sitting there making, the Galaxy pay and putting them in a bad situation. Someone like Paul Rothrock, who, Schmetzer was hyping up before the Miami game and then scoring that goal. Just they keep bringing these different players in. And so I'm going to quote the number 2 news anchor in San Diego, Wes Mantooth, and say, Seattle Sounders, I hate you. But God damn it, I respect you. There's very few teams where around the league I could talk myself, even in as bad as the Galaxy have been this season, I could talk myself into, well, if they play and they counter, if Royce is on the field and they make the right passes, I can make an argument that the Galaxy can give them a game. Seattle is one of those teams where it makes it really, really difficult to make that argument. I don't see a lot of weaknesses for the Galaxy to expose there.
So much time, and I've joked about this, but I never thought Schmetzer would but he's like the perfect guy to be like the Seattle head coach. So that's 100%. Then you can go and look at just what Garth Lagerwey did before he left, and just how they were constantly able to reload, and just keep the momentum sort of going. Now, there is an argument against all that, which is how many MLS Cups have they won, right? And so, yes, they've been successful in the playoffs. Yes, they make the playoffs and they're a competitive team. Sometimes it's better to have a flash in the pan and get on a run and have a team that's capable of winning it than it almost reminds me like a little bit of Moneyball, right? Which is like, hey, you have these, yes, you're able to cobble it together. Yes, you're able to make it. And yes, you have guys who can replace other guys in the whole deal, but do you have the difference makers whenever it comes to championship time? Yeah. Do you have that upper level? Listen, this year, I think Greg Vanney was like, I think some of their guys are getting healthy, because wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the guys who have been out are suddenly back in. And I don't think Seattle has played since their Miami game in Leagues Cup.
That was in one of my notes as well. They haven't played since the fracas in against Miami with all the bench clearing situation. So who knows what their mindset is going to be as well, because
they play him again.
They play him again on Tuesday. Right? On
yes.
Short turnaround. So maybe they have that game circled. And what I thought you were going to say is all the negatives being that they have no chance against Seattle. I was just saying any given MLS match day can just be bonkers. Sometimes you just have those days where it goes sideways and your last place teams end up upsetting. I think it would be hilarious if the LA Galaxy win away at Seattle, this team who's had their number all season long. It would be very interesting to see them come away. That I think it comes down to who Seattle puts out there. But even if they do go with a weaker lineup, play the kids type of lineup, I think their system, the way they have it they have it set up. Like I was saying, I respect how they do things. I think that it's almost foolproof that they could still at least, get a result out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you need an Edson Buttle type goal where he shot it from like 2 steps off the far right hash and, ends up going over top of, was it Casey Keller at that time? Probably Casey Keller at the time. Into the back.
Sounds right.
You need some of that goes their way. The other part is that I would imagine, just me, but whenever Seattle looks at points that they're going to pick up, playing against the LA Galaxy at home is sort of like, yeah, those are points we should pick up. And when they look at going to Miami and how important that game is, not very important against an Eastern Conference, like you're sort of like, hey, we'll rotate for that if we have to. And we're not going to get sucked into because I think Schmetzer's so smart. We're not going to get sucked into like the rematch of this, right?
Maybe you protect your players in that way. We'll see Miami in the MLS Cup final. That's the time then we'll exact our revenge. Yeah, there's something to that too. That's fair.
So let's go to D ratings. And even though we've teased it and already talked about it, Eric, take it away.
D ratings. D ratings is not pretty this week. It is Seattle with a 61.2% chance to win. The LA Galaxy with a 17% chance to win. So not good at all. A draw, 21.8% chance. The Vegas odds are really jarring there. The opening line was at plus 500 for the LA Galaxy, minus 210 for the Seattle Sounders. A draw at plus 380. So Vegas doesn't like the LA Galaxy. D ratings doesn't like the LA Galaxy here. It just seems, like I said, they've had their number. They have their way of doing things. I just don't see the LA Galaxy finding a result out of here. Again, projected goals, XG at 2 to less than 1, 0.88 for the LA Galaxy. So again, less than a goal. So again, that also says something about what the expectations are.
Yeah, it does. Predictions for this, it's a walk in the park for Seattle. 2-0, 3-0. That seems like it's easy. Their defense is so good. Their physical game. If you're the Galaxy, I kind of don't. This is going to sound bad. I don't want it to sound bad, but if you're the Galaxy, I kind of don't want to get kicked anymore this season, right? Like, and you're going up to Seattle where you're going to get kicked a lot, and it's sort of like, do I have to get kicked? Like it's I don't know. It's just me. That's a me thing. I'm just projecting. Okay, I don't want to get kicked anymore.
Yeah, I don't need Nuhu to put get any more cleat marks from Nuhu. So I'm with you there. I have it as a 3-0 loss. Okay, but I don't have it as a blowout just because I think that Seattle gets the goals they need to, and then they just take the foot off the gas, and the Galaxy doesn't, like you said, they don't want to go get kicked, and it's kind of a gentleman's agreement once it gets to 3 goals, and you just walk away and lick your wounds and make it work.
So after the 35th minute, it's 3-0, and then that's it for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
right?
That's it. Then we turn it off. Then I turn it off. I go have dinner with the wife. Go get a cocktail.
Right.
That way, you just no worries. You just enjoy the evening.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Yeah, that's where we sort of sit on that. Is anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything exciting, important that needs to be said during this particular show right now?
No, I think we're good. I think I'm surprised. Again, we went an hour. Given where the LA Galaxy are in the season, how repetitive these results seem to be, but shout out to you and for always giving us plenty to talk about, and the chat for keeping it lively.
Chat's always awesome. There's there's amazing people. I'm glad everybody's still hanging around with the show. I understand vacations are coming in November, December. Enjoy those because maybe hopefully that you won't be on vacation next year. At that time, because the LA Galaxy will try and figure out a way to get back into this competitive zone. Looking forward to sort of seeing what the plan is and what you can sort of understand the mindset of what the Galaxy are going to try to do in the offseason, right? But I think there's going to be more changes than, I think there are some stable pieces, and those stable pieces will stay there. But I think there's going to be a lot of changes coming here pretty quickly. So, all right. Eric, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we will get on out of here.
All right. As always, you can find me on all the social media platforms at HammerEV9. That's Hammer, EV, and the number 9.
If you're looking for me on any social media at Galaxy Podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com for all of your wonderful Corner of the Galaxy news and information. Head over to our Discord if you like it, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, any of those places that you can find your podcast. You can find Corner of the Galaxy. Like, subscribe. We're on TikTok now, by the way, too. We're there. We will be posting videos on the talk, as long as it's still around for another couple months. So that's what we got. The LA Galaxy taking on the Seattle Sounders coming up on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. 5:40 p.m. is your kickoff time up at Lumen Field in Seattle. Galaxy have a chance to be eliminated from postseason contention, and that always makes things interesting. I'll have live coverage here on the socials in order to get you through that game. All right. For Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.